We talk about our full test of the 2019 Porsche Cayenne. We tested tires to see how they degrade over time and discuss the results, and we answer your questions. Next on Talking Cars. Hi everybody, welcome to our first show of 2019. I'm Mike Monticello.
I'm Ryan Pizlakowski.
And I'm Keith Barry.
So first of all, Happy New Year to you, Ryan, and you, Keith, and Happy New Year. Thank you. Happy New Year to everyone out there watching and listening. We hope you had a nice holiday season. So we're going to get right back to work, and the first thing we're going to talk about today is kind of a unique tire test we did recently. We wanted to find out how much does the performance of your tires go down as they wear out. And the impetus of this had something to do with some claims Michelin has made about some of their tires that they say still maintain a really high performance level as they wear out, and we wanted to find out, is that true? And
we're CR. We test these things.
Right, that's what we do.
Exactly,
so we're very lucky we have Ryan here today, who's one of our tire technicians, to tell us a little bit about this story and what you guys were trying to find out and what you did find out.
Yeah, so it was partly the Michelin. They have a tire that they have a couple tires that they claim have technology in them that prevents them from losing their wet, driving performance as they wear. Another thing, NHTSA,
National Highway Traffic Safety Administration,
did a recent study, that tires as they wear out are a big cause on motor vehicle accidents in the country. So we test tires, but they're brand new when we test them, and of course they test. They're at their peak performance because they're fresh tread. What happens as they wear out? Now this is a difficult thing to do because we can't wear out all these tires to an even same amount, and we tested a bunch of tires. It's just a big undertaking to do that. So we shaved tires down.
Basically shaving the tread off to a certain depth.
Yeah, we
correct.
Essentially ground down the tread artificially to simulate the wear.
Right.
And that's tens of thousands of miles of driving, basically.
Right. We do acknowledge, though, that we are not capturing the aging effect that happens to tires over time. Just the elements get to it. That dries the rubber out.
So it's not exactly the same as real world, but it's
not.
It's
right.
pretty close.
And the wear profile isn't maybe exactly how it would be if it was on a car, naturally worn. So we did some wet braking performance. And then we did hydroplaning resistance, which is basically, is things skim across water or not.
Right.
And we took a group of tires that we had from our previous all-season tire program, and we bought another set of tires, identical tires, and we had them shaved down, and we tested them side by side. And what we found was the Michelin tire, the Premier, maintained its grip. And the wet braking, it was 3 feet longer with it worn. It's impressive technology.
And did they do the best of all the tires?
They
that
did.
Tire?
That tire did do the best. Not all of them did that well, obviously. There was some tires that degraded by 51 feet.
Wow.
And wet. I mean, that's a ton.
That's the difference between
stopping
in time and not stopping in time.
Right. Yeah.
But were some other tires pretty close to the Michelin's level of not
so
dropping
they were
off,
all
or?
over the spectrum, but generally they all lost something. That one Premier tire was very little. I mean, it's almost we almost call that the same, just in the noise in the data. That's not 3 feet, nothing, especially when you're stopping at 150 feet or whatever it might be. So as these tires wear, it's interesting because the tires have little sipes, little slits, little grooves everywhere.
Sipes.
Sipes.
That's what you call it.
That's
a word
that's
I
an
just
official
learned
word.
yesterday.
Yeah. So as tires wear, you'll see some of these tires that we had shaved. Some of these sipes go away. They're not actually all the way down to 230 seconds, which is a legally worn out tire.
Right.
So
that's a measurement. Of tread depth.
That's how we measure tread depth, exactly. So on most tires, there's a couple main grooves, and they have little tread wear indicators in them. There's little bars, and when the tires wears flush with those, level with those, you're worn out completely. That's 230 seconds. We tested at like 430 seconds, which is where we say you should be thinking about buying new tires because you're really starting to get down there.
So these are 30 seconds of an inch.
Right.
These are tiny little fractions of measurements.
Right.
They start off at what, like 9 or 11, 30 seconds?
Generally, the group we tested, these are regular performance all-season tires, V-speed rated. So
these are things you normally would get on. These aren't like.
Yeah, these are on modern new cars. They would come. Honda Accord would have a set of these tires on them, just for perspective.
And the the problem with the sipes going away is that it hurts the tire's ability to get rid of the water, correct?
Yeah, to get rid of the water and to just to grab the wet asphalt.
Okay.
So believe it or not, as tires wear, dry performance actually goes up a little bit because now you have more contact area. If you think of a race car on the track, they're bald tires because more surface area, more grip. Wet performance is a little different. You need those sipes, especially for hydroplane. You need those grooves to evacuate the water as you drive through a puddle. So when we did hydroplaning, we found that tires degraded by about 13%. They're worse. That's almost common sense. I mean, as a tire wears out, you're going to hydroplane. You're going to float on top of the water.
So, a couple takeaways. One, do you think this is going to force other tire manufacturers to try and adopt some of this technology so that their tires will get close to the level of that Michelin?
So I think there's been some push. There's some manufacturers are doing some things. They're not pushing it quite like Michelin is. It's still kind of an early stage thing, I think. But it's impressive technology. I mean, the fact that you can maintain that grip, wet grip, that's impressive.
Michelins are typically more expensive tires anyway. They're on the more expensive side. Is this an even more expensive tire than regular Michelins?
I would just say generally Michelins are a little more expensive.
Okay.
They make great tires.
Right.
They're in that sort of top tier.
It's a top tier tire, yeah. And there's a lot of great tires, other brand tires out there.
Right.
But Michelin, they've always been on the leading edge of avoiding accidents, putting a ton of technology into tires.
Before I forget, I want to just tell everyone you can check out this story on consumerreports.org, written by your boss, Gene Peterson. It's a really good story. It has all this information comparing all the different tires. But takeaway I get is for people to really be aware as your tires wear out in rainy weather, you need to be aware that the car's not going to stop as short as it did when the tires were brand new. That's kind of the takeaway, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Right, and listen, there's some that do better than others too, so definitely a reason to check out our ratings.
But as as you're thinking about it's time to start looking for tires, if you're out in the wet, you got to be a little more careful as you're driving in the wet.
Absolutely, even a brand new tire, the wet performance varies, which is why we do what we do.
Which is why you should pick up a copy of CR, go online, and check those before you outfit your car.
Now, Keith, it's winter time, it's cold weather in most of the country. I mean, are there some tips you have for people that they should do as the weather gets cold for their tires?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, this is the time of year. So you might see modern cars have these tire pressure warning lights, and that's just your tire pressure gets lower when the air gets colder, and you want to make sure your tires are properly inflated for good tire wear and also for fuel economy. If you have tires that aren't properly inflated, that's money you're leaving literally on the road as you drive. That's you're wearing out your tires.
You roughly lose 1 psi per 10 degrees in Fahrenheit.
So it doesn't mean your tires have a leak. I mean, a lot of people come to me and say, "Oh no, my tire pressure warning! I have a leak." No, it's just something that naturally happens this time of year.
Don't freak out.
Don't freak out.
Just get out your tire gauge and go find out what the tire pressure is.
Exactly, and the tire pressures are going to be usually on the door jamb, and those are for cold pressures. So don't do this after you're driving, because as you drive, the air heats up, expands a little bit, little basic physics going on, and the tire. That's why maybe the light will go off as you drive.
Exactly.
Also, while you're down there, while you're checking it, and we recommend I got one for my parents for Christmas as a gift. I got them a little inflator so they don't have to go kneel down at the gas station and put in quarters and stuff and fill it up.
Portable air compressor?
A portable air compressor.
Right.
Have one in the garage. There's probably one here somewhere. Have one in your garage. Have one at home. Have one in your car. Use that to fill your tires. Because it's going to happen over the winter.
Right.
But while you're down there, check your tread depth. And we talked about 30 seconds of an inch. You might have heard of the penny test, and that's you put the top of the penny in there, and if you can see Lincoln's head, it means your tires are worn out. Well, it isn't just inflation, little tire pun there, but we're up to the quarter test now. The penny test is 2 30-seconds of an inch, and that means your tires are unsafe. It means you got to go out there and get new tires right away. We're talking if you use a quarter and you can see the top of Washington's head, that means it's 4 30-seconds of an inch, right?
Correct.
And
which is when you should start shopping.
Yeah, that's what you shave these tires down to see how they are. And for most tires, that's going to cause you longer stopping distances. And I think especially in parts of the country that don't see a lot of rain, don't see a lot of snow, you might not notice this until the first time that it gets wet and gets bad. And you don't want that to be the day that you hit your brakes and you end up hitting another car. Right. So check your tires.
Yeah, good stuff. Ryan, I think it's really cool that you guys did that story. I think it's a great story.
It was a neat little side project.
Again, go to consumerreports.org, check this out. It's really interesting. So let's move on to our next segment, which is At the Track. The 2019 Porsche Cayenne, we tested it. It just came out of test recently.
We got a tough life.
We do. Yeah. We have to drive Porsches.
We have to.
But and you know, the Cayenne has, since it came out, has been one of the sportiest driving, most aggressive SUVs out there. But it hasn't been fully redesigned for about a decade, and now we have this fully redesigned model. Ryan, I'm going to throw it to you first. We fully tested it now. We have all the numbers and everything.
Yeah.
What did you think about the driving experience of this car?
So it's still a sporty SUV. It's not, I don't think, as sporty as it once was, but everything's sort of shifting more towards these more comfortable SUVs.
You mean as like the market is shifting?
Yeah, everything's just kind of they're getting away from that real aggressive sportiness. At least
you're not going to track an SUV,
right? They're finally figuring this out.
Yeah.
Right? No, so it's got great steering. It rides firm. I think
Agree. Yeah.
It is sporty, so it has those tendencies. It's got the motor is fantastic, but it does have the transmission's can be a little glitchy at lower speeds. This car likes to be driven aggressively.
Right.
When you drive it aggressively, you'll be happy. It's fun. Is everyone driving it like that? I don't think so.
You're probably stuck in traffic a lot.
Well, yeah. And it's an awesome car, but it's expensive.
Yes.
Very, very expensive. We're going to talk about this anyway. I would buy an X5. The new X5
BMW
is more comfortable.
Yeah, speaking of the drivetrain, it has this turbo V6, 3-liter turbo V6 with 335 horsepower and 8-speed automatic, all-wheel drive. But what's annoying, this low-speed driving that you're talking about is annoying because it has this hesitation as you try to leave the line, which is, it could be a combination of both the transmission and the turbo lag. And also it has an annoying stop-start system that actually turns off the car before you even come to a stop, which I don't.
Yeah, literally while you're
rolling.
You
don't
and
see.
Some
you're
cars
still
do
rolling.
a much better job at this than others.
Right. This one, you kind of want to turn it off because it's so,
You're literally rolling.
And it turns the car off.
Before you come to a stop, it's off.
Right.
And it's a weird feeling.
So when you combine, an annoying stop-start system with a little delay leaving the line, it makes it a little just kind of frustrating to live with.
And that's how people are going to normally be driving this car.
Right.
They designed it for driving it heavy and hard, but that's not how most people drive ever, no matter what you're driving.
Right, which is a bummer because it does great at that. On a curvy road, it handles really well, has good steering, it has really good power. But there are these driving annoyances that you really shouldn't have to put up with. But it does have a great interior. It has a beautiful interior.
It's beautiful, but there are a couple of things about it that are a little annoying. I know we talk a lot about shifters and gear selectors here at CR, but that's because there are a lot of bad ones out there. And I know some you can get used to. This particular one has the park button. The park button is on the back of the gear selector.
Right.
And it's kind of smaller than your thumb, which is what you would naturally use to push it. And you have to kind of get behind it. And the first time I drove it, I couldn't find how to put it into park.
Yeah.
I eventually did after a few seconds, but that's one of those things you want to know. My car is in park.
Right.
Yeah. And it can get a little confusing. There's no reason for that to be
Some
that
people were
confusing.
getting confused with there's an e-brake button just next to it, and
Which
that's
is lit
visible.
up, invisible.
Yeah, and people are pushing that, which it's safe. It puts an e-brake on.
Right.
But it's not right.
You should be able to find park easily.
Yeah.
Exactly. Right. There are a lot of buttons that you can't see depending upon where you're sitting in the car. There's sort of just a waterfall of some of the buttons are physical buttons, some are touch buttons, some of them light up, some of them don't.
It has this very, very dark, black, kind of black on black buttons for the center console. A really nice touchscreen, but all these buttons and switches down here and the center console to the, in the middle of the car are a little kind of confusing.
Yeah.
They're hard to figure out what you want to do quickly.
One thing that's actually kind of cool, the touch screen is huge and it can be a little confusing, but it's one of the best examples I've seen of integration of CarPlay and Android Auto.
Right.
Because normally what happens, you plug in your phone and it just takes over the screen. And if you want to listen to the radio and get navigation from like Google Maps, you're kind of out of luck. You have to toggle back and forth. This lets you kind of put them next to each other. And it's one of the first cars I've seen that does that, which is actually kind of cool.
The screen's huge.
Right. Yeah, a huge screen.
Right. Yeah.
But I mean, there are a couple of things that I think are sort of affectations to let you know that it's a Porsche. You know, the ignition here
on the left,
which is, you know,
it's a Porsche thing.
Yeah.
Don't knock
exactly.
it.
I know, but you're not going to be, you know, going, you know, you're not going to stall in a corner and need to restart the car. I mean, it's just it's unnecessary.
Well, not only that, but it's actually in a more awkward position than most Porsches. You know, it's kind of like almost hidden behind the steering wheel.
Exactly, and the handles. I mean, it's almost like they're tow hooks.
I like those
car.
handles. I don't know
They're
why.
solid,
They're
too.
so
They're
huge.
aggressive,
It has these huge grab handles. I kind of dig those, actually.
I don't know. It
Each to their own.
feels. I mean, to me, I would agree with you about the X5. I would totally agree with you. I mean, and you still get the badge, and you save like a ton of money, and you get more features, right?
Right.
And it's a car that's a little more fun to drive.
Right. Yeah. So our Cayenne, as tested, and keep in mind this is the base Cayenne. There's more expensive, even higher performance versions of this.
You can spend a lot more.
You can spend a lot more money. This was $79,280. The BMW X5 that we've tested is $68,730. And I think most of us, when we got in the X5 after getting in the Cayenne, we're like, okay, well, we would buy this even if it was the same price or more expensive. So.
The X5 is very nice.
We'll leave the X5 for another episode.
Yeah, right.
But it is important to note that there are probably better choices out there than this Cayenne. If you need the badge, then I guess get it. But I don't think that's a reason why you should buy a car personally.
Yeah, BMW isn't too shabby either.
No, that's not a bad badge. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's move on to audience questions. And we want to remind you guys out there that we love getting your questions, especially the video questions, and you can send everything to talkingcars@icloud.com. And because we love seeing you guys, we're going to start it off with a video question. So, Toli, can you run that clip for us?
What's up, Talking Cars? Big fan of the show, as you can see. It's almost time for me to get a new car, and I'm wondering about warranties. It seems like manufacturers try to save money with shocks and tires and things, and I'm wondering if doing your own upgrade on tires and shock absorbers would void a warranty on a new vehicle. I don't know if that's typical or if different manufacturers have different policies. Anyway, big fan of the show, big fan of Consumer Reports in general. It's been 10 years watching your stuff and reading your articles, and the 10-year-old Honda Fit just won't quit, but it's still time for a new car in the next year.
All right, so first of all, some really good production value there. Yeah. I don't know if you guys saw that, but he had our three best-looking co-hosts in the background.
Was that an oil painting?
You two and Jen.
Yeah, I think that was an oil painting.
It looked like an oil painting.
Yeah, maybe on velvet.
Yes, oil.
On velvet.
Could you imagine if
you
someone had an oil
poker.
painting of you guys?
I would
pay big money for that. No, and also I love that he then
shows us his
hands
Honda
over
Fit,
to his Honda Fit, and he says, I love this line, the 10-year-old Honda Fit that just won't quit. Anyway, so we love seeing your humor, we love seeing your personality, so send the videos in, guys. But there's some questions here, like, Keith, I'm curious, why would you start changing, your shock absorbers and your tires as soon as you buy your new car?
Yeah, that's kind of my concern here, is that you don't know how that car is going to drive. That's like ordering a meal and then bringing spice to the restaurant and putting it on there. You don't know how it's going to taste.
Right.
And I think that what you want to do is you want to buy the car, and then if those components are, as you say, if you think that they're kind of not up to snuff, wait until they wear out and then change them over. I mean,
right.
at least use the free one.
Right.
You know?
Yeah, definitely.
They come with a car. And,
right.
And they're set up that way for a reason. And part of that can be the manufacturer optimizing the cost of the vehicle and testing, et cetera.
Right.
But if you want to customize it, unless you're really into customizing a car, wait
right.
until you wear out on the ones you have there.
Yeah. Well, not only that, but I mean, if you test drove the car and you don't like the way it rides, then maybe don't buy that car.
Yeah.
You're not going to change the performance that much with just those two items for sure.
Right.
Tires. Yeah, there's the original equipment tires that come on cars. Generally, they don't last that long anyway. So
right.
if you don't like them, replace them. Definitely stay with the same size.
Right. Wait till the tires wear out.
Right.
Yeah.
Type and speed rating that came on the car, obviously.
Right.
But
shock
it won't void your warranty.
Shock absorbers are going to take a while to wear out. So
yeah,
I would say that if you don't like those shocks, then you're going to and if changing them immediately is kind of silly. Otherwise, if you're going to wait for them to wear out, it's going to be a while. But also, if the main question was, will doing this void the warranty? The answer is no, it won't void the warranty, except unless in the process of putting those shock absorbers on, something is damaged to the car, then your dealer is going to have a problem with that.
And if something goes wrong with the aftermarket ones, you're going to have to deal with that part warranty,
right? Not with the
than
dealer
car
anymore.
warranty.
Yeah. So when you start switching things around, it gets a little confusing. I would personally not do it. I'd go buy a car that has the ride and handling the way you want it. Right. So, okay, let's move on to our next question. And this person says, hey guys, maybe you've answered this before, but I might have missed it. How long does it usually take for a vehicle to go through the complete CR test period? To give clarity, I was wondering how much longer we will have to wait for your final score on the new Acura RDX. Thanks, I watch every week, love the show. Hey, thanks for watching. Yeah. The thing about this first question is we try hard to get to all of your answers, and we do have a backlog of them. So this question was sent to us a while ago, and we're sorry we haven't gotten to it until now.
But the good news
is we have, the Acura RDX is up on our website. Check it out. We have full results. It did pretty well. It was scored toward the higher end of that segment, so give that a read. But Ryan, tell us, you're one of our testers. Tell us, how long does it take from the time we pick up a car at a dealer to bring it back here, and then sit down and have our, we've done all our testing and sit down at our ratings meeting and talk everything through. About how long is that typically?
So the short answer is about 2 months, and that's if everything, including the weather, goes as planned.
We're in New England, so.
Yeah, a lot of times we're up against the weather. So we'll buy the car,
right.
We get it here, we check it in, make sure it's what we wanted, make sure it's all in working order. We have to put 2,000 miles on it. So that takes,
miles, yep.
Yeah, that takes, that could take 2 weeks.
Yep.
Between all of us driving. Some of us live far, some live close,
right.
But we get up to miles usually pretty easily. And then we start testing. We'll do, we have to, give it a 4-wheel alignment.
Right.
We make sure it has the proper air in the tires. Then we do accels.
Yep.
And then we fuel rig them. We do fuel economy testing.
Yep.
And then after that, we'll do braking and the more aggressive tests, winds maneuver and
track handling,
emergency handling.
And in that whole time period as well, we're doing our drives out on the road to those of us that are part of the jury for
interior stuff.
We do all of our interior scoring. There's a whole gamut.
Car seat, luggage, all that.
Everything.
Sort of stuff.
So
at some point, headlights get done.
Headlight testing as well. Yep.
Yeah.
So
it's about 2 months, 6 weeks. Sometimes it gets pushed. The meeting will get pushed off of our ratings meeting, which is what we have at the end, to kind of put all our thoughts together and make sure we're all on the same page.
Yep.
Can be sometimes pushed off if it's the weather. We run into issues with weather or something happens. So.
But we have our first drives.
Yep.
So if you're really itching to get there, you'll have something when we first get the car, and you can read our initial impressions. But you're not going to get that detail without taking that amount of time. You're not going to get that detail from someone who's been in the car for 48 hours.
Right. Let's put it this way: we don't rush it. This is something we don't rush our testing. We feel we've set up this program. We have to follow it to the letter every time we do it. So we do the same thing with every single car. Right. They go through every exact same
And that doesn't
test.
mean we get rid of the car either. We have the car for a year roughly, and we still drive it, and we still we have logbooks still in the cars. We still have an opinion after that point.
So I think the bottom line, we take a little bit longer probably than some of the publications out there, but we feel pretty strongly that we do a more thorough job than everyone else as well. We'd like to think it's worth it. Yeah. So hopefully you guys do too. Let's move on to our last question. This person says, my daughter has a 2010 Toyota RAV4 Limited and likes most things about it. She is looking at buying the new 2019 RAV4, but I was wondering if she should wait a few months before buying it, or is it safe to buy it as soon as available based upon Toyota's reputation? So a little bit of background. We rented 2 of these 2019 RAV4s from Toyota. We've also just recently taken delivery of our own 2019 RAV4 XLE all-wheel drive. So, this person's right about the stellar Toyota reliability history, not just for Toyota, but for the RAV4 as well. And also keep in mind, the RAV4 kind of started this segment. They're kind
it's bread and butter.
Right.
Yeah.
But, what do you think so far about, well, I guess, would you say that they should jump on this new RAV4, or should they wait a little bit, or what would you suggest?
I think they should wait until they at least read what our full take is
on
it. Because it's we're in the middle of that 2-month process right now.
Right.
I mean, I would say that that even Toyota, there can be something that might go wrong. Toyota has been just absolutely stellar in reliability across the board, but even Toyota, there can be something that everyone,
first year model redesigns,
and this is a pretty significantly redesigned car.
Right.
This is an entirely different platform. There are a lot of different things about it. One thing I would say is don't wait too long, because you're driving a 20 or your daughter's driving a 2010. It probably doesn't have all of the safety features. The 2010, I remember, didn't do great in some of the newer crash tests, the small overlap tests. And there are a lot of cars in that segment that will come with standard automatic emergency braking, that will get good scores all around from the Insurance Institute for Highway Safety. So there are a lot of great cars in the segment. It's an incredibly competitive segment.
Sure is.
Yeah. So
compact SUVs.
You don't necessarily have to get a RAV4. There are a lot. So start your test driving now. And then by the time you're done, we'll probably have our full verdict on this.
Now, Ryan, you've driven the new RAV4, and we're not going to get too deep at this point, because we haven't finalized our full impressions, because we're still getting to know it.
Yeah.
What did you think so far about the new one?
So at a glance, I think it looks better. I do like the looks of it.
The styling is much more dramatic.
Yeah, it looks a little more,
Yeah.
and almost a little more off-roady. I kind of like that.
Yeah.
So I like that. It does. I think it drives okay. The engine's loud.
Yeah, I think that's one of the biggest.
I was surprised by that.
I think that's one of the biggest knocks against it so far for everyone that has driven it, whether it was the pre-production ones, which were really loud, and Toyota said would be quieter, in the full production version. We bought ours, and it's still pretty loud.
Right.
What I would say is, why not, maybe start the driving, process now.
Yeah.
Drive some of the competitors: Subaru Forester,
CX-5.
Mazda CX-5, Honda CR-V, and then kind of have your last stop be the Toyota dealership, since she's pretty interested in the RAV4, and then see what she thinks about the RAV4 versus the car she's already driven, and then hopefully by that time we should be pretty close to wrapping up our final results, and then you can see what we think about it, because maybe we'll say, maybe look elsewhere.
Who knows?
So, we'll
who
see.
knows?
Yeah.
So check back in soon. We'll have those results for you as soon as we can. That's going to do it for this episode. If you want to learn more about the cars and the topics we talked about, you can click on the links in the show notes. Remember, send those questions, comments, 30-second video clips to talkingcars@icloud.com. And thanks for watching, and we'll see you all next week.